got the output here from a script where I've attempted to calculate 5% of 1 million. And you can see the message here, 5% of 1 million is 0. Obviously wrong. Let me just run the script again just to show you what's happening here. There's my script, the multiplication error script. Percent, I'll just change it this time to, I'll call it 25% of 1 million. And 25% of 1 million is 0. Just run it a couple more times before I show you the script that's doing this. Let's push it right up to 95% of 1 million is still 0. And just to see, 100% of 1 million is 1 million. Well, at least we got that much right. One more time. 150% of 1 million is still 1 million. All right. So clearly there's a problem here. Now let's jump over to the script and I'll show you what is happening in the script. I'll explain why the error happens and I'll show you some ways that you can fix this problem. Now here is my multiplication error script. This is Metatrader 5, but in Metatrader 4 the problem is exactly the same. All I have here is a simple input, INP%, 5 by default, and a double INP value, 1 million. Now, I'm simply calculating this as a percentage, but when you see the multiplication/division error that I'm getting, it could happen anywhere. I'm just using a simple percentage as the example. So in the start, what I want to do, because I don't want to keep calculating percentage as divided by 100 throughout my code, I'm going to convert this INP% one time into a fraction. And here I've got double fraction equals percent to double INP%, and percent to double is my function here. And then I'm simply saying the result is fraction multiplied by the input value, so 5% multiplied by 1 million, and then I just print percentage of value is, and then the resulting value, percent value result. Here's the function where I'm calculating percent to double. It's got an integer input, so that's this integer INP%. And then I'm calculating a double value. The result equals percent divided by 100 and returning the result. Now, what's happening here? This is not unusual in languages that have defined data types. So by defined data types, I mean that you declare the variables here with double or integer. And what happens is that this calculation on the right-hand side of the equal sign is carried out entirely as an integer. Percent is an integer, 100 is an integer, and this simply calculates percent divided by 100 and gives the result back as an integer. So 5 divided by 100 as an integer is 0. Even 95 divided by 100 is 0. It's not until I get to 100 divided by 100 that I actually get an integer 1. And in the example you saw, I also ran 150 divided by 100, which would be 1.5, but as an integer it is 1. So all of that is calculated as an integer. Even though on the left-hand side I've declared that I want to store that into a double, this is calculated as 0 or 1, and that is put into result, which is a double, but I've lost all of the decimals that would have come from this calculation. So that's the simple explanation of why I get the error. Now, here are some simple ways to fix this. Firstly, I'm only getting that error because everything on this side of the equal sign is an integer. If I change percent to be a double, for example, and I can recompile this, and now I'll just go back and run that. Let me clear these old messages first. 5%, and now I get 5% of 1 million is 50,000, correct answer. So I achieved that by simply making one of these values a double, and that means that this entire calculation produces a double value which goes into result, and I get the decimal places. That's simple enough to do in this function, and note that I still have this INP% coming in as an integer, but because I'm passing it into my function and the function's declaring that as a double, it becomes a double inside the function. So that's fine inside this function. If I've got this all through the code, so if I haven't taken the step of calculating this fraction, then it would be better to declare this as a double, but then I might actually want that to be an integer. So in cases where I want to have this side as an integer, let me just change that back. But I actually want to get the correct result as a double. The other number I can adjust is this 100. And to make that a double, all I have to do is add 0.0. Simply adding that decimal point will tell the compiler that this is a double value, 100, and that means that one of these values is a double, and I'll get the correct result. So I've put this back to an integer. Let me recompile now and run this again. So here's my last result, getting a value of 50,000. I'll change that to 7% just so we can see a different result. And there, 7% of 1 million is 70,000. So simply by making this 100 into 100.0, I get the correct result also. So those are the simple ways to fix this problem. I will point out here that this doesn't just apply if everything on this side is an integer. You can also get the same problem if you have values inside parentheses. So let me just give an example. Let's say that instead of simply converting this percentage into a double, I want to calculate 2.5 times that percentage. So let me declare a... So I've got a double multiplier, 2.5, and if I simply have percent divided by 100 multiplied by multiplier, I will still get an error because all of this is calculated first as an integer, which gives me a 0, and then that's multiplied by this, and I get a double result, but because I've started with a 0 value, I get the incorrect result here. Even if it's not 0, if I had that 150%, I'm not going to get the correct value here, simply because this is being converted to an integer. Let me just compile that and show you. I'll run it again. I'm going to make this, what do I want, 2.5 times. So I'll make that 10, so I should get 25% at 2.5 times that. But I say OK, and again I get 0. And that's, as I said, this is being calculated first, giving me a result of 0, which is then being multiplied by 2.5 and so on. If I change that and fix the problem again, 10%, I should now get 10% of, I should have changed the message, but this is 2.5 times 10% of 1 million is 250,000. So that's just something very simple to remember. If you're performing calculations using integers and you want the result to come back with fractions, at least one of the values inside this must be a double, or you'll get an integer result. And again, I'll point out, I'm just calculating percentages here. This could be anything. This could be a number of lots per thousand that you want to calculate, anything like that. If you're doing any kind of multiplication or division only involving integers, you'll get an integer result. So just a short video today. I hope that was useful for you. If it has, remember, click the like button and click subscribe to see more of our videos. So until next time, thank you for watching.